Hello, good afternoon. Michael Wynn, Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. Thanks for joining in today on the Digital Marketing Podcast and video, where we talk about digital marketing and strategies to help grow your business. Today, I'm super pumped to have Garrett Mehrguth from the CEO of Directive, a leading B2B and enterprise search marketing agency headquartered in Irvine, California. Garrett, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining in today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Michael. Excited to be here, chat with you and your audience. And yeah, man, it's a blessing. So thanks for having me.
You bet. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, we're based here in North Florida, and Garrett and Directive is based in Irvine, California. So literally connecting coast to coast today, which is pretty cool. So today's topic is going to be how to change your brand's discoverability and revenue. Super excited for you to share some insights and things that you and your team have learned working with local businesses, as well as at the enterprise level for more larger campaigns. So Garrett, go ahead, give us some of your big takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to discoverability, I think what we found is a lot of marketers, in-house, agency-wise, are still focusing on this idea that your website is the most important part of your search marketing. And I really believe that that's completely untrue. Like, I don't think that that's how marketing works. And I think that because we couldn't track or report discoverability historically, in other words, where our brand shows up, only where our website shows up due to the way keyword tracking works currently, that became our obsession. Is we are judging the success of our SEO efforts, at least from within a search engine, not from within the business standpoint, but from a search engine standpoint, on the keywords we rank for. But a lot of things are happening right now with the way Google's operating. There's a lot of things that are changing. And those changes and those new realities, keyword tracking doesn't honor, appreciate, or directly even correlate to revenue. And so what we found is a couple things. Number one, your brand is more important than your website. I'm going to say that again, so everybody needs to really, I think, remember this, is your brand is more important than your website. Number one. And what I mean by that is when someone searches, let's say an example of top ERP software for the global enterprise side, or on a local level, best pizza joint. Individual websites are not what Google's serving up. I call this the Yelp and the Amazon effect. You can search best sunglasses in e-commerce. Okay? So the reason I'm using best, top, reviews, and things like that is because when you have your primary keyword, let's say of your business, pizza shop, modified by top, best, near me, reviews, that's called purchasing intent. At the bottom of the funnel, there's action. People want to take an action. Now the problem is that your individual website, Google is now saying, is no longer the best answer to that query. And so if you're measuring the success of your business based on the success of your keyword rankings, you're no longer able to appreciate or value or focus then on the areas where your brand is actually driving the impact, where essentially you're showing up on third-party sites, in publications, in news articles. That is really the bigger picture of what happens and why search existed in the first place. The reason SEO existed, the reason PPC existed, is businesses and marketers wanted their companies to show up when people look for the products and services they sell. And that doesn't mean you don't need to focus on your website and all that stuff, but it means that that's your version of success. You're looking at 5, 10, 15, 25, let's say max percent of the puzzle. And we got to shift that.
Yeah, I love that. We talk often on the show about brand awareness, and we talk about the funnel, and it's interesting that you bring up that intent is definitely a much narrower piece of that. I think that's really important. And I like that you point out that there are these directories or third-party sites that are really outranking because they have a more authoritative grade, for lack of a better word, and are able to show up. So I think that's really insightful. the other thing too, that even for the person that's just getting started, you know, what are your thoughts when it comes to, you know, short, you know, concise keyword versus sort of long tail, like what you do, right? Versus trying to figure out, like, someone going to type in, you know, digital ops, my company name, versus I need digital marketing services. I know that's really basic, but I think you got to start there, right?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I have a fundamental belief that it's more efficient and effective at first to supply the demand than to generate it. What I mean by that is you need to look at the areas. Remember now, if you're once again thinking about your own website, you have to say, okay, I'm a new business. I don't have that much of a domain authority or a URL rank or whatever, if you're using Ahrefs or Moz or whatever tool you're using, okay? Whatever that is you're using to judge your authority, you don't have much of it, right? So when you look at, you then always are trying to go after long tail terms due to the less keyword difficulty. And then if you can create that content consistently, you can grow essentially volume. Now the problem a lot of times with long tail is, let's say there's 30 searches a month. If you don't rank number one and you don't have a 30% click-through rate, so if you're, you know, let's say 100 queries a month, you rank number one. If you get 30 people to your website, then you convert at 2%. You might not even get a lead out of that term, right? Now simultaneously, you can go after much larger queries at the bottom of the funnel, but then pay to rank. I call it paying for SEO. In the sense of, if you search the keyword top ERP software or best pizza joint, you can pay Yelp or get your Yelp reviews up on the pizza joint. You can pay Capterra software advice G2 Crowd when it comes to the ERP software. So a startup, an incumbent, a challenger brand can essentially pay to be on these third-party review sites, then essentially test the validity of investing in their search strategy to see if they want to see if they can get their own website ranked there as well, if they want to launch paid ads there. And it's a way to essentially test out if you like the cost per deal or the cost per opportunity and the actual ROI of this campaign. So, you know, it's a little wiser or cheekier way of looking at it that's less codependent on difficult resource-intensive things like content creation, which frankly is a core struggle with every client we've ever worked with in the last 5 years.
Gotcha. What are you guys seeing in some of the other ad platforms? Are there some opportunities, you know, outside of Google's platform? You know, how do you feel about retargeting versus Facebook, Instagram? You know, talk about some opportunities there that you see.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunities are once again like in those sites that rank really well organically and have paid ad opportunities. They might not look like they're paid, but I promise you pretty much across the board they're paid. And those lists you see, those review sites you see, you can pay to essentially be number one. So you could launch an ERP software tomorrow, pay Capterra for the number one spot, and if you had the funding and had the reviews, you could theoretically be the number one ERP software one day into your company. Now, obviously, you might not have product market fit yet, you might not have pricing, all those other things, but the reason it's so important to think outside of Google Ads is the average click-through rate on Google Ads is between 2 and 5%, regardless of position, whether you're 1 through 4. Simultaneously, the number one, like the click-through rate for the number one position in Google on the organic side is anywhere between 27 and 32%. In other words, you can 10x your volume from 2 to 20 or from 3 to 30% by simply changing the allocation of spend, and that will also drastically increase volume. So yes, I would actually advise a lot of times not starting on Google Ads unless you're leveraging that search term report for content ideas and figuring out where to expand. But the idea shouldn't be more keywords. The idea should be more often showing up for the right keywords. So taking multiple positions on every channel available for the terms that you already know are driving leads or revenue for your business.
Nice. I like that. Let me ask you this: what is the common, you know, I guess the thank you or the feedback that you get that your clients provide you and your team to say, thank you guys, with this you helped us accomplish our goals? What's really the real driving force of success for what you guys are doing right now?
Number one, I find clients mostly don't manage you by saying thank you. Number two, the driver of success, I think, really, I don't blame them. I think a lot of times, they want to make sure we still are motivated and, on fire to hit their goals. So I think that's probably a more transparent way of how people manage it instead of saying thank you. But number one is time. We spent a lot of time on accounts. Number two is we spent a lot of time in the strategy and the project phase to make sure that we didn't leave any stone unturned, and we really focused and actually got that actual foundation of the campaign ready. Number three is long-term planning. We run on quarterly sprints. So we'll be looking at a full quarterly strategy as a part of an annual game plan, which has to do monthly data analysis on, and then weekly updates. So it's a very structured approach to seeing success by forecasting and future planning, so that every day when one of our consultants gets on the account, they're not like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to focus on today for this client. But they actually instead have a bigger strategy, so they have more time in execution and less time trying to make bad numbers look good or report, which is frankly what a lot of agencies end up having to do. And so beyond that is obviously our perspective and our approach of why does someone care about the products and services you sell? How do we differentiate ourselves? How do we take market share? How do we stop taking so many risks by trying to expand on the volume of terms, but instead focus on the quality of terms and taking market share there, so we can experience increasing marginal returns instead of diminishing? And so really thinking differently about how you acquire customers and how to do that within budgeting constraints really effectively, whether we're managing a $20 million budget or we're managing a $20,000 budget. Understanding how to allocate that spend appropriately, and then ultimately the attribution model. We have a SQL team in-house that runs all of this, that allows us to run campaigns on sales data, not marketing data, which is one of the greatest growth levers you can pull, because you can start to actually see the quality and this close rate, not just the conversion rate. And once you start talking close rate instead of conversion rate, you're in a powerful place as a marketer.
Yeah, I like that. My follow-up question was going to be, especially when you talk about strategy, again, another tactic that we talk about on the show is reverse engineering the motivations and the psychographics of your audience. So you just talked about a lever that you're pulling with some of the data. Tell me about what do you feel is there a gap between, where clients think the audience is versus you actually having data that maybe pulls the curtain back and reveals something that they weren't aware of? Do you see that often or not?
So it depends on the channel. So search is not psychographic dependent like social. So I would argue, yes, you can totally see that. So one of the easiest ways to see that is using the LinkedIn pixel, putting that in your Google Tag Manager, and then you can essentially look at all the titles, firmographics, and then actually build out the psychographics for a B2B or enterprise company exponentially better. And then what we do is we do what's called a single persona ad groups, which is a spin-off of single keyword ad groups. So you can take a really good asset, let's say the B2B guide to search marketing, and then you can create one asset, and then you can take that across maybe 10 different ideal customer personas and make it the VP's guide to demand generation,
right?
SEO's guide to demand generation. And then what you do, right, is then you have your title, your copy, and then your targeting all aligned, and then you put it in a lead gen form instead of sending to a landing page, and we're averaging anywhere between 50 and 65% conversion rates for our customers on these types of campaigns.
Nice. And really, to go super nerdy, what are you seeing? I'm really hearing, and we're seeing on some of the campaigns that we've got running, where you've got some YouTube pre-roll. Is that part of the equation you guys are doing for video, and how that is connected with search? Are you seeing clients that are leveraging that strategy, or not as much on a mass scale?
I think the second you try to correlate brand, social, and other campaigns to search, you get yourself in a sticky situation, because I don't believe the technology truly exists to do that yet, and to draw those comparisons. Now, when you want to do it, what could work, and what we do a lot is, let's say you have a client who does a lot of YouTube videos. You could take a $20 spend per net new video, spend it in the Philippines on penny clicks, drive engagement, because engagement's driving essentially your organic positioning. So we essentially pay to then get someone's engagement on their video way up and then allow it to rank organically so we don't have to pay to promote that video as much for the keywords we're targeting. That works exceptionally well. And then on the pre-roll side, I personally do a lot of brand campaigns for Directive on what I call CPM bidding. So there's no intent, there's no tracking on it other than I call it functional targeting. So I'm taking everyone that either could hire us or we could hire, and in other words, marketers between 25 and 55, and that's kind of that sweet spot for us, and saying, okay, I want to drive awareness. I already rank #1 for SEO agency. I want them to have heard of me before. I already have ads on every term that they could ever search when there's purchasing intent. I want my click-through rate to be incentivized because they had some type of emotional connection with my brand at some point. And so those types of things is how I'm layering it, but I'm not like measuring it so much as believing in it. And I do think there's a place for your gut to exist in search marketing. And the fact that nobody's gut has any opinions anymore is actually hurting the market.
Wow, I like that. All right, I want to shift gears. I kind of posed this question, and I think this would be a good one. I think as we're working with companies and businesses who experience growth and do experience additional recognition, see revenues increase, and they want to grow their business, something happens on the inside of that business. They need more people, they need more resources. This is where I'd like for you to go super selfish and just talk about Directive and how you guys have grown. Maybe if you had growing pains when you went from the 6 to 10 to the 10 to the 20, and now what, you guys are almost at 40 employees now? Talk about your growth.
Yeah, so we're at, I think, 60 employees or more than that, maybe. For us, the growth comes from a couple things, like really understanding cost of sales in the sense of a lot of times in professional services, you cannot grow through volume of accounts if you care about the quality of work.
Yep.
But those two things inherently conflict. So you have an option. You can go to bed at night and say, I'm okay with us being a better vendor than others at our price point. Just now 99.9% of agencies justify it. Or you can do the way I've tried to do it, which is I want to be the best regardless, and I'm going to charge for it, so I'm going to have to swim upstream. And that means we'll work with fewer accounts. Like we have 70 accounts and 60 employees. That's a different model.
Yeah.
And a lot of those accounts, are still not in full realization of the future in the sense that we're still, I didn't start this knowing that. I started selling $5 social media calendars and $200 SEO audits. And as you develop, you start to work with Allstate, Cisco, Samsung, Sumo Logic, Sure, like these types of all these different types of companies, and you start to realize, okay, this is the work I love. And this is the stuff I care about. This is the brand I want to be. And so for us, it's not about the volume of accounts, but instead the quality of accounts and the quality of deliverable that we can match that to. Because that's really my passion, is being the best. It's not to be the richest, it's not to be the wealthiest, it's not to have the most customers, it's to have the best customers in the world and have the best deliverable. And so that's really our approach to our growth. And I think that's why, we've been able to grow so exponentially.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, especially your insight of where you started and the price point, with $5 calendars and $200 audits, and now you're working with Fortune 500 plus companies. I think that's a true testament that you guys are committed to providing the best product, the best quality product, and that's exciting. Well, awesome. Garrett, any last things you want to share or ideas or inspirations for the audience?
Yeah, if you are trying to drive MQLs and increase top of funnel traction, I would recommend lead gen forms on LinkedIn on the B2B space. We found that to work really well. And I really take some time to search, the primary keywords for your business and then layer it with things like top, best, and reviews, and ask yourself, is a CMO or a CTO or a chief revenue officer, one of his direct reports, one of his managers to go get 4 quotes, would you be one of the 4 quotes? Because they don't go out and search the way you might think. Go look and ask yourself, if you were trying to get a job done and get a bunch of quotes in, is your brand discoverable and what is your reputation? Because that right there is the easiest way for you to increase your average order value and grow your volume of sales. And so, I highly recommend you do that. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'd love to help you.
Yeah, excellent. All right, guys. Well, thank you again for joining in. Garrett, thanks for joining the show today. It has been a great pleasure to have you. Best of luck to you and your group and your staff as you continue to dominate the B2B enterprise search marketing agency world. Have a great week, buddy.
Hey, thanks, Michael. Have a great one, man.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.